welcome to the channel. I'm Amanda and today we are here with an exciting video about gouache, in particular ARTEZA gouache. Not sponsored, not affiliated, just wanted to try these out because a lot of people were talking about them and I wanted to see how they were for myself. So I decided to buy them, and it was recently Black Friday and they were having a really good deal on them. It worked out to be half price basically. And I also bought some brushes by ARTEZA as well. I didn't use them too much in this video. When I was doing the little tiny details I used them, but I used my unicorn brush that I got from the range, and I also used my Daler & Rooney filbert brush as well. System 3 I think it is, the cheaper version of the Daler & Rooney brushes. But yeah, I got it half off and I was really excited because there's 60 colours. I do have gouache and have tried it before. I used to use Winsor & Newton gouache, but I think that I didn't really do enough research on what colours to get first, and I just got a bunch of reds and yellows and blues and some like nice colours like cobalt, teal and all that stuff. But I didn't actually do a lot of research on what colours to get. I just went off of the way that you work with watercolour, which is you get a kind of cool toned red and yellow and blue, and then a warm toned red, yellow and blue. And it was making it really hard for me to mix the colours and get the kind of colours that I wanted. So I'm really good at mixing with watercolour and I just couldn't do it with gouache. So I put it to the side and then I forgot about it for a little bit and started on other mediums like acrylic and watercolour and digital. But this set comes with 60 colours, so you shouldn't have to mix as much. But some of the colours have a lot of the same pigments in one, and I think it was ALLJArt. I watched her video about this a while ago and she said that only 18 of the pigments are actually unique, and then the rest of the pigments are mixed from those 18 pigments. So a lot of the pigments have black and white in them, which makes them look really muddy right out of the tube, and if you mix them then it's even more muddy. I didn't really see any of the muddiness that she was talking about, but I was only using the tubes singularly. I wasn't really mixing them that much, and if I did mix them then I do understand where she's coming from, because one of the blues that I used was a lot more muted than what I would have wanted it to be. Like on the actual tube you can see it's a little bit darker than it was in the thing, and I think it was because it was mixed with white. Anyway, so yeah, this set I think is really good for having a limited colour palette to choose from, because they are set up in a way that the colours look good next to each other. You do have to swatch them though, because they do look different from the actual paint inside the tube, but it's pretty much set up in a nice colour range, so you can just grab one tray and use those colours, or obviously you can pick and choose your own colour palettes and use them like that instead of using the whole 60. Obviously you're not limited, you can use as many colours as you want, but artworks tend to look better with limited colour palettes anyway. So I think that this set is really good for exploring and experimenting with what colours you like, and then if you do like them and you use the most of that colour, then you can purchase it in a higher quality. But saying that, the quality of these ARTEZA gouache seems really nice to me. They are a little bit on the chalky side, but it's not really noticeable like if you bought Crayola watercolours, or even a cheaper watercolour like those Koi brand watercolours. That is a big noticeable chalky texture, but with these gouache watercolours, these ARTEZA gouaches, they don't seem to be as chalky as that kind of difference. So the quality is there, except they're for a cheap price, but I do not recommend if you want to be a professional gouache artist, then these would definitely not be for you. But if you are beginning to use gouache and want to test it out and see what colours you like, these are perfect for that. they dry really fast, and everybody knows this, that acrylic and gouache are the kind of two mediums that dry super fast, and I was having trouble with that. I know that they dry fast, but even when I put a stroke of the paint on the paper and then I got some more paint really quickly to put below it to blend it together, it was drying so fast that it just wouldn't blend. And I think that to blend the gouache, you need to use a little bit more water. I was just using them with a damp brush and straight out of the tube, so they were drying really fast and it was kind of hurting me. I didn't show it in this video because the video would have ended up too long, but I did do a painting before these two and I was trying to blend a sky or whatever, but it just wasn't working. So you just really need to keep that in mind, that they dry super fast. I don't know if you can use mediums, but you just need to use water. And I do understand the saying that gouache is acrylic and watercolour's baby, but I think that they're really different. Like, maybe it's the quality of the ARTEZA that I'm using, but I just don't feel like they have the same feel and way that you paint as acrylic or gouache. Or watercolour. This is getting confusing. I don't feel like when you water them down, it acts like watercolour. They are a lot more like streaky, and they're not as smooth when you water them down. I don't know if this is to do with the quality of them and if the Winsor & Newton ones would be better, or even just a different quality of gouache would be better with watering them down. But I know that the ARTEZA ones look a bit streaky when you water them down, and they dry obviously darker than what they are when they're wet, and they dry lighter than what they are when they're wet as well. So if the colour is dark, it will dry lighter, and if the colour is light, it will dry darker. So that is a confusing thing to get used to, and that's one of the reasons why I found it really hard to mix, because I don't mix a lot of colour at once. I'm kind of scared to do that, especially because I prefer using watercolour and gouache straight from the tube. I don't like letting them dry and then re-wetting them, especially with gouache, because gouache cracks, and if you have them in a palette then it just gets messy and it's just not nice. So I prefer to use them straight out of the tube, and that's probably one of the reasons why I'm kind of sparse with it, because if you do that then you use a lot more paint. But the opaqueness of the paint is really awesome. I watched a couple of videos about gouache after I did these two paintings. I had watched some of the videos before, but I kind of forgot what they said, and I feel like I have a better understanding of gouache now, and I probably could do a better painting now than I did before, and I do want to really play with these a little bit more. But they kind of made me want to change what I draw and the style that I draw in. I don't usually draw landscapes like this whatsoever. They're kind of abstract and not really the style that I go for, which is semi-realistic, I would say, is the style that I want to go for. And I don't usually draw landscapes in watercolour. I do in acrylic because it's easier, but I didn't want to get gouache to just do landscapes with. I wanted to get gouache to do faces and to do other things that I enjoy painting, but I feel like I can't because gouache is really hard to work with. But obviously once you iron out the kinks and you learn how to do it, it would be much better. But they are really fun to play within my sketchbook, and I don't think that I would use it for bigger pieces unless I got better quality gouache. But overall I am really happy with the product and the quality for what I wanted it for, and I'm really excited to dive deeper into how to use them, although I am adding too much mediums to my rota. I keep thinking, oh, today I'm going to paint with gouache, but maybe I want to paint with watercolour or acrylic or digital, and I don't feel like I have it's basically too much choice. It's like a kid in a candy store. I don't know what to pick, and that is a true saying, by the way. I used to think that was a stupid saying, but it's not, it's true. My kid, when I give him more than one choice, he's just like, oh my god, I don't know what to pick, it's so hard, like, oh, so much stress. And that's what it feels like for having so much mediums to work with. But I am happy that I got these, and I do want to play more with them in my watercolour sketchbook is what I was using, and I've kind of ran out, so I need to find another sketchbook to use. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you had a good time watching me paint this while I talk about the gouache, and if you like any of these playlists, think that they would be something that you could watch, then please do click on them, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!